the many pastors and leaders that are here tonight. If you're a pastor or involved in a church ministry of any kind, would you please stand? Just want to thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate your work. Thank you. To share more about a new statewide effort, how you can get involved, I'd like for you to welcome tonight Josh from an organization called Our America. Thank you for being here, Josh. Appreciate it. Thank you.
My name is Josh. I'm from the Our America Foundation, and I'm going to start a little bit back. I used to be involved with Wisconsin Faith and Freedom. I was part of the 2024 involvement. It's because of John Pudner and the speaker I'm about to introduce, Brent Hamachek, that I became involved in politics at all. If I hadn't done my first internship with John or met Brent, I probably would have been working at Culver's in Wisconsin or McDonald's. So, I was. But I joined Our America because the Our America Foundation saw something in 2020. And they saw how, number one, low propensity voters didn't show up to the polls. And African American and Latino, communities and young people who had swung towards Republicans during the Bush years had dissipated. And they either weren't showing up or they were showing up for Democrats. So in 2020, Our America Foundation, was created, the sister organization of the Media Research Center, and their main goal is to get more people registered to vote, to talk about cost of living, free speech, religious freedom, and basically, involving the Latino, African American, young people, and Christian communities in the conservative movement. That's our goal, to educate those communities about conservative politics, get them registered to vote and out to the polls this November. They had chapters in Arizona and Georgia, and they expanded to Wisconsin, which is, we're here, and then Pennsylvania as well. So Wisconsin obviously is a very critical state. When I talked to them about expanding to Wisconsin, they originally wanted me in Pennsylvania, but I said Wisconsin because, like John Pudner had stated, we were the closest state out of all the swing states. It was, 15 to 20,000 votes. And, it was because of Faith and Freedom, that we got those low propensity voters out. But the problem is those people don't turn out in the midterms. And we need to register those communities, get them involved, and get them involved in the conservative movement and staying with us, year after year after year. You can't just end with one political person they may like and then not reach out to them again, because that's what the other side does. They come around every 4 years. Hey, Josh, you're Hispanic, or you're black, or you're a Christian. Hey, we care about immigration reform, or we're going to give you more benefits. Come out and vote for us, and then you never see them again. And the conservative movement greatly has been reaching out a lot more during off-year elections. So that's what Our America is about. That's why I partnered with Wisconsin Faith and Freedom to have this event, to get people caring about conservative issues. Our next speaker, Brent Hamachek, little backstory. Like I said, he got me involved in politics. I knew him in 2016. It was because of him that I basically got involved with Turning Point USA and went to their first conference. And he basically was like, Josh, skip math class and come to this event. And I hate math. I saw him speak and, listen to what Turning Point was about. And then I got my first internship at John Pudner's organization. And then, from there everything worked out. So, here is Brent Hamachek.
All right, this is fun. I'm so proud of him. If you folks had known him when he started, shy guy, stuck his head into a room, he's right. He was on his way to math class. I talked him into skipping class. I told him there was free pizza because there was. And he just gave a really good talk. And he's had quite a journey. So I'd love it if you gave my friend Josh some applause. And then there's John Pudner, the nicest man in politics. It's just ridiculous how nice he is. So look, every once in a while I get to speak somewhere where I wonder, how did I get here? And I'm in a church in Milwaukee, and a guy who is born Episcopalian, became Catholic. Here I am in a Baptist church in Milwaukee. I used to live up here. Now I live in the Chicago suburbs. Pray for me, right? And I'm wondering, how did I get here? And I'm happy to be here. And then I think, what on earth will it be that I will talk about to share with a group in a venue like this? And, you know, I was told that this conference is about religious freedom and then some election stuff you're going to talk about. So I thought about that religious freedom part. And then I thought about the journey that I've been on over, say, roughly 63 and a half years. And so, I thought I would talk about a problem that I encountered, and then the solution I came up with for it, because hopefully it might be something that'll be beneficial to you. It won't be convenient, but it might be beneficial. So just quick background, I do a lot of different things. People are like, oh my goodness, all the things you do, it's so impressive. No, I just can't hold a job. And one of the things I'm involved with is something called the Free Society Coalition, freesocietycoalition.org. Wonderful website, great cause. A couple years ago, all sorts of think tanks, organizations come together in Philadelphia to work on what can we do. We agree on 7 out of 10 things, all of us, but we fight about the 3. And these are groups as diverse as the Acton Society, as Catholic as it gets, and the Atlas Society, named after the work of probably the most famous atheist of the 20th century. And they all came together, and they said, let's work together. And what they did is they put together a statement, the Philadelphia Declaration, that shared their values, okay? And that statement focused on 2 things that they could all unite on: individual liberty and personal responsibility. So I'm thinking about religious freedom, and then that's like religious liberty, and then I'm thinking about the next part, the religious responsibility piece. And that's the part I thought I would talk about, because everybody in this room is concerned about current events, making a difference, getting active in the public square. Well, the responsibility thing is pretty important. I think that if we take a look back at the history of Christianity, the history of Christianity in the public square, it's not always been good. We have the Crusades. Oh, I know, some of them noble start, but make no mistake, an extraordinary amount of excess and damage done in the name of God. We have the Inquisitions, again, done by Christians in the name of God. We have the religious wars in Europe fought after the Reformation, tens of thousands of people killed, Christians killing Christians, mostly hand to hand. Think about that for a moment. Think about that. The idea of God's on my side. No, God's on my side. Draw your dagger and let's fight. We have in Europe the burning of witches. In the United States, the more sophisticated hanging of witches. Much, much better solution, done by the Puritans, of course, and other groups in Europe. So this is a challenge for us. We have even more recent events with groups, and I'll stop because you get the idea. When we bring our faith into the public square, it's not always gone well. So let's continue with the idea of responsibility. So I like to ask sometimes, I'll say to people, what is your favorite miracle of Jesus? And some people, the raising of Lazarus, water into wine, the healing of lepers. I have a Jewish friend down in the Chicago suburbs where I live who's an attorney who says Jesus' greatest miracle was getting 12 Jewish guys to follow him without a contract. It is pretty good. So I think actually the greatest miracle of Christ is the one that came after he was gone. And that is his own personal reputation remains largely intact after 2,000 years of human beings acting in his name. That is a miracle. That is an unbelievable miracle, because look at what I just cited and look at what we've done. So how do we do better? Something our Common Ground campus program is all about, do better. So I've been on this faith journey. Quick background, raised Episcopalian, became Catholic, converted. That wasn't enough. I wanted to learn some more. So what did I do? I thought, well, I'll do what everybody does that converts and becomes Catholic as an adult. I'll go to graduate school and study theology at a master's level with the Jesuits. I did. I went to Loyola and I studied theology. And I learned a lot, because if I'm going to join a faith, I want to understand a faith. And my journey continued, and several years ago, I started to get curious about some things, and I started to do a different type of research. And I started to take a look academically at Scripture, at the history of it, translations of it, the formulation of the text. And boy, did I start to get uncomfortable. You know, I started to take a whole different look at Isaiah 7 and 53. Discovered some things I really wasn't aware of. I started to take a look at the differences that are all blended together at Christmas time. We have that church pageant, whatever denomination you're in. And we have this beautiful pageant, but I started to look at these differences in the stories between Matthew and Luke's account. And I started to get uncomfortable. I took a look at the book of Revelations, came to get a better understanding that it really does seem to have been written about Rome and Nero, not about a bunch of people getting lifted off an airplane on a flight from Chicago to Iowa or wherever it might be. And that made me uncomfortable. I think my favorite story in the Bible of the parables and Jesus' teaching was the story about the adulteress brought to him, who is among you without sin, cast that first stone. Boy, I love that story. And then I came to learn that in our earliest manuscripts of the Gospel of John, that story's not there. And that made me uncomfortable. And so what my struggle was, and I'm a skeptic, skepticism and faith there, boy, do they go at odds with one another. They have a tough time. Anybody in here is a great person of faith but not a skeptic? Stay that way. It's a whole lot simpler. Trust me, a lot easier. So I was trying to reconcile faith and skepticism. And after doing all the studying I've done, I've thought, what on earth do I turn to? What can I know? And then something occurred to me. While I may have a lot of discomfort with some of the negotiating that I was feeling I was having to do with Scripture, one of the things I thought about is, in these four Gospels, the ones that made it in these four Gospels, whatever was written when, whenever was put in when, whatever differing accounts are, you know what? If we read them, what do we really have? We do have a pretty good sense of, and now I traveled to 1990 or so to Holland, Michigan, to a youth minister who comes up with a really neat idea about how to reach her kids. And it's to create this little bracelet with WWJD on it. What would Jesus do? Has anybody in this room ever read the book In His Steps? Just a few people. You still get it on Amazon. One of the best-selling books of all time, written in 1895 by a minister out of Kansas. The idea was if people in his church were going to take a year, and they were going to say before they did anything, they were going to ask, what would Jesus do? And all sorts of interesting things happen. And you know what? When we take a look, and we take a look at those Gospels, and we read them, and it doesn't matter about which translation or which version it's, I have a sense of this. So, I have a young assistant here with me tonight. I didn't really bring him as an assistant, but he became one by showing up. And Eric's got a bag, and Eric's going to pass this bag around. I want everybody reach in, grab one, grab two, they don't do any good in the bag, bring them home. But I brought bracelets for everybody, that WWJD bracelet. And what I'd ask you to do, if you're going to step into the public square, if you're going to exercise your religious freedom, stop first and ask the question. Here's what I'm going to suggest. It is an incredibly easy question to ask. It is a question that when you ask it, you'll likely know the answer. Here's the warning. The answer might prove to be extraordinarily inconvenient. And that is when you have to decide, am I going to do what I feel like doing, or what would Jesus do? And should maybe I do that? Might I not do better? Now I'm going to leave you with a little tip that's off topic, but it's not, because it's all about trying to do better. I'm going to give you a piece of advice I gave to my daughter a couple of years ago that had an impact on her. And I've shared the story with a bunch of people over time, and every time I share it, I get, Brent, I'm telling my kids this, I'm telling my wife this, I'm telling my friends this. It's kind of shocking to me. It seemed kind of simple. But she was sitting in our family room, and she was on social media, and she was playing on Facebook. And she was about to post an opinion about something, and she was telling me about how she was losing friends on Facebook, and they were not liking her, and all this stuff. And she was getting ready to post something. And I said, before you do, I want you to stop for a minute and think about something. I said, I got a program that I'm part of called Common Ground Campus, where we try to get young people to come together and solve problems. And I said, I've got a partner in that program. He's one of my best friends, and we don't agree on virtually anything. We don't. But we can talk about things, I tell her, but we don't try to argue and turn the other person to our side. I said, because here's what you have to think about. I stress this to you. It's so important. It's so basic. If you pick anybody you know, son, spouse, friend, doesn't matter, and you disagree with them, you think X and they think Y, and it's some issue in the outside world, and you argue about it and you make your best argument, and finally, after 20 minutes of time, they say, I give up, you're right, you win, I've had it, you're right. Whatever it was you were talking about, nothing in the outside world is going to change. The only thing that will change is your relationship with that person. So before you get into your next argument, think about it and say, is it worth it? Is it really worth it? If you want to change the world, sign up with Josh or John Pudner. They'll let you be part of a group and you go out and change the world. But otherwise, stop and listen. Funny thing about listening, some people say, oh, they don't listen to me, they'll never listen, they'll never listen. Listening's kind of like everything else in life. Somebody has to go first. So those are my thoughts. That's my journey. I hope that some of that, for some of you, is beneficial. Ask the question. Ask the simple question. You'll find the answer. And then deal with its inconvenience as best you can. And thanks for having me here.